Time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go.
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and the next episode of our Maul Shadow Lord Aftershow, Part 4. And this is really action-packed episodes that we're going to be going over. We got a little bit of some news regarding Star Wars Celebration to talk about in the beginning. And we'll introduce the crew joining us this week again to you guys in just a moment. But if this is your first time tuning into Star Wars Escape Pod, welcome to one of the greatest Star Wars podcasts in the galaxy.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back, Blake.
Hello there. Good to be back as always.
Good to have you back. And we've got the man Darian joining us as well. Hello there, sir.
Sakuragar, my friends.
Amazing. And we have Matt joining us as well. Welcome back, Matt.
What's up, Inquisitors?
What's up, Sleemos?
Oh, man. So before we dive into Maul tonight, I did have like a little bit of news which just kind of popped up last minute, and it is the initial guest announcements confirmed coming to Star Wars Celebration Los Angeles 2027. That's once again the 50th anniversary, the golden anniversary. Anthony Daniels, Ian McDiarmid, and Hayden Christensen are all confirmed to be going. And we got from the Bad Batch cast, Michelle Ang, who plays Omega, and D. Bradley Baker, the one and only, the guy who gives us the voice of the Clone Troopers for all of the animated series and so many more voices. Such a talented guy. So they both are going to be there as well. And that's just to kick things off.
They should do a panel where he just does a one-man puppet show.
Yeah, they really should. I mean, he could, that's basically what the Bad Batch was. Like, it was just him, a one-man show. Because there was episodes where Omega was, like, captured or, missing or whatever. I'm pretty sure
it was just him.
Yeah, it was just him for, like, 20 minutes. It's crazy, dude. Like,
do you think they paid him per character? Or is it just, like, you get, like, one wage?
Yeah, say again?
Do you think he got paid for playing 4 characters? Or do you think they just like?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know how that works. He probably gets paid like on a per 60 second of dialogue. Maybe I don't know. That's a good question.
Per episode, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, I think it can change because one time we had somebody, like, it was a tradesman who came to our house once, and this was like when I was a kid, and he worked on I think it was on our garage door or something like that, or the vacuum. There was something in the garage that he was doing. And this was like big dude. He had like this really deep voice, and he was talking about how he used to do voice acting once, and he said he worked on like the Pirates of the Caribbean 3 video game.
Wow.
The video game, and he did a bunch of other things. And then he did the United Furniture Warehouse like radio infomercial voice, and that was him. Like, I was like, no way.
That's crazy.
United Furniture Warehouse. It was like that one. Like, that's insane, dude. Like, it's like here just fixing up our door. Like, yeah, and he said he got paid per word when he did that commercial.
Per word?
Yeah, per word. It was like a couple $100 per word or something. So pretty good money for a quick recording.
Advertisements pay way better than film. I believe how it used to work. I'm not sure if it still works like this. Is when you sign up for a TV show like Gargoyles, they would sign up for 2 or 3 characters of the main cast, and they could do up to 6 background characters, and that would be their flat regular fee for the season. But if they played more than that, they'd have to get paid per character extra, and it would be quite a bump.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So then if you're playing 4 of 5 characters of the main cast,
I would imagine you're getting like 2 or 3 salaries. Like, think of one of those episodes of Bad Batch where it's just him.
Yeah. Exactly. That's so much dialogue. Like I must have been in the soundstage studio just for like days and days.
Oh yeah, crazy. Well,
I think a lot of times too they record from home now too.
Yeah, that's
really?
true. A lot of the I think D. Bradley Baker, like he was recording from home. I think COVID set a new precedent for a lot of voice actors. Like they can record from home. I don't know how exactly they do it to record that lossless format, but
he is also a really good engineer too, like a sound engineer himself.
Right.
So he has like a great setup at home because we worked with him on Harvey Street Kids. I worked with him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
Gotcha. That's a bit like David W. Collins. Like he works at Skywalker Sound, and then he also does like the voice of Proxy and The Force Unleashed, and he did a whole bunch of other things. He does the voice of the little that weird probe assassin droid that we're watching in Maul Shadow Lord right now. I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah, so he does that one as well.
Oh, neat.
And the same with Matthew Wood. You know, he's the voice of the battle droids in Grievous, and he's one of the big top guys at Skywalker Sound these days. He learned from Ben Burt himself. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the sound industry I find is quite a small community of people. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Spybot.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That's.
Oh, is that what it's called?
Yeah. Amazing. All right. Well, that's our just little tidbit of news for Star Wars Celebration. I forgot to ask you guys before, but is there any kind of last minute spontaneous things you guys want to bring up before we dive into Maul?
I thought we were going to talk about Galaxy's Edge.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Yeah. So Matt, you're going to Galaxy's Edge in about a month, and by the time people listen to this episode, it will be about 3.5 weeks or so. But they recently made a big change, and that would be the change of eras from focused on the First Order, which up until this point, if anyone didn't know, the characters in the park as well as the story in the park itself is taking place between episode 8 and 9. This includes the narratives that you get on the rides. It includes the time period that all the shop vendors are supposed to be playing their roles in. Some of the merchandise is reflected in that with like a lot of First Order and Resistance related things. The ships that show up in the area, of course, we got the First Order shuttle that kind of in the big landing pad there, and so on and so forth. But they recently made a big announcement and said the Empire is coming to Galaxy's Edge. We're changing the era to like Imperial Rebellion. And I guess we were just talking about it before we started recording here, but the day has now passed at that time, that they did the big launch. I think it was this past weekend or this past week or whatever. And Darth Vader and 2 stormtroopers kind of came out of Kylo Ren's shuttle of all things. They hadn't changed the ship. They hadn't removed it and put in a new TIE fighter or anything like that. Like, it's just like the whole place is the same. So it's really just the costumes of the characters are different.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, I was a little disappointed to see that they hadn't given it a facelift.
Give us the Imperial shuttle, something. And also, does that mean on the Millennium Falcon they're going to change the radar dish?
That would be so easy. That's such a small thing that they should be able to do. I mean, I get that, like, the big ship, like Kylo Ren's ship is huge. A, where are you going to store that? And B, to replace it would probably be so expensive. But, man, it is still let down.
Everybody wants to see the Lambda shuttle. Come on.
That'd be so cool.
Come on.
I'm like, most of the ships in the park, I feel like they're pretty generically aged in a way that like they could kind of work.
Have to modify the X-wings, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. So they got a newer X-wing in there, but the A-wing, like that one works. The Falcon works. I'm just looking at the Falcon right now. They do have the rectangular dish, so it's the sequel era dish. But you know, I don't think. I mean, like that's the kind of thing that if they went down to that level of detail, I mean, that would impress me.
Yeah, me too. It's serious.
Yeah, it's serious. Like, okay, we're serious about this. We're serious about this change. You know, we've discussed this before. We've discussed the you know, the era that the park is set in before. And it was one of the complaints, I think, that I had, or the criticisms, I guess I should say, of Galaxy's Edge compared to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is a very generic, kind of all-encompassing, you know, non-era specific fan experience. Whereas Galaxy's Edge is just zeroed in on this one era.
Yeah, but with the Harry Potter thing, I mean, I feel like it's a pretty safe bet to just stick to the original, like 8 movies or whatever, because it all kind of take place within like the same decade, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas Star Wars now is just like these like massively different eras.
Well, they could have, like, for Wizarding World of Harry Potter, they could have designed the park to story-wise take place after the Deathly Hallows Part 2. So that, you know, you were in this world of post Voldemort, but then the rides and stuff, they, you know, they're so vague with, like, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you have all these random encounters with characters and stuff. It's just cool, you know, like, it's just neat. It doesn't really need to make sense. You go on a little 5-minute adventure for the ride, and it tells the story while you're on the ride, but in the continuity of the films, it makes 0 sense whatsoever. Because I think at one point Bellatrix shows up on like the Gringotts ride or something, and it's like this fits in nowhere. Like, it just makes no sense. That ride is
super cool,
but it's so cool, right? And you're just like, it's almost like Star Tours, right? Like Star Tours.
Right, that is probably a closer comparison, yeah.
Yeah, like it doesn't really make sense, but it just, you enjoy it and it happens and you're on there for the thrill and just the Star Wars story being thrown at your face. It doesn't really fit in anywhere, but it's just neat, you know? And you're there to have a good time. And it's like, Galaxy's Edge is a good time. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. But I feel like the way that they tailored it out to be, you know, with a certain era and story happening in the park, it's a genius idea, but they started with the era that majority of fans probably care about the least. And they didn't. It
was new though, right?
Yeah, it was brand new.
That was coming out when they made it.
Right. So it made sense for the marketing at the time. But now that they're changing the eras, it's almost like there has been 0 effort put in on a design level. You know, they did, maybe they didn't make these ships to be moved. Like they probably could have.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, and
which is a bit of an oversight on it.
It is, yeah, it is a bit of an oversight. It's almost like, well, why didn't you build these ships to kind of be on these tracks that you could like motorize, you know, slide them in and out and
become,
you know,
modular or
interchangeable,
a reversible sweater, like flip it inside out and it's a Lambda shuttle.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the ships that it's such a generically, you know, the environment works so well. Like you only need to make a few adjustments and then it really, really works, you know, for like
the environment's fine.
Right. Yeah.
It's really just the props.
More immersive characters too, like in Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
I was at FanFest for Universal Hollywood last Thursday for my daughter's birthday. It was really cool. Like they brought in all these actors and it was very immersive, like in all the worlds. In the Harry Potter world, the Jurassic world was awesome. They had raptors like escaping and like them trying to stop them. It was awesome. And then the Mario Land was where we were mainly because my daughter's a big fan. And that was it was a lot of fun. There's all these Yoshis all over the place. And
you get to stomp on some Goombas.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I saw how immersive it was, and it really makes a huge difference. Right? So like Galaxy's Edge, come on, step it up.
Yeah, they got to step it up. Yeah.
It's not hard.
No, it's not hard. I mean, like the costumes, like I appreciate the change of costumes, but I don't know. I mean, like the scenery or even like the ride, I don't know. I mean, maybe that would be a bit of a stretch, but
the ride would be a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. All I'm saying is like it could have been designed to be a bit more generic from the beginning so that they could do this a bit easier.
Don't you wish like Rise of the Resistance, that ride when you go onto the deck, like I'd rather see Darth Vader and stormtroopers and like even maybe Luke and Leia like escaping and Han like from New Hope, like something.
Oh yeah.
That'd be sick.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. There's just actors there, and all they do all day long is swing back and forth whenever a new guest walks into the room.
Exactly. Hold on.
Oh man,
that'd be awesome.
Man, that guy would get so many smooches for luck.
For luck.
Alrighty, cool. Well, yeah, let us know how it goes, Matt. What you experience. Maybe they'll change some things or add some things in the month, before you get there. But
Okay, for sure. I'll try to take some pictures.
Yeah, we'll reconvene at some point. Alrighty, let's without further ado, let's dive into some Maul Shadow Lord.
Let's do it.
Kicking things off tonight with Chapter 7, Call to Oblivion. All right, this was April 27th, 2026. And I will summarize the episode here. Maul leads Devon and Riley to his current hideout, which the Empire is closing in on. Maul plans to escape from Janix on his starship, which is hidden nearby, but Devon refuses and tries to leave with Riley. The Empire arrives and attacks the group, capturing Riley in the process. Devon manages to escape during the fighting and reunites with Daki and Lawson. Riley is brought to police headquarters and detained. Lawson tries contacting Two Boots, but the droid is reluctant to abet the fugitives and does not answer. Maul's group makes their way to the ship but are intercepted by more stormtroopers led by Merrick and the second Inquisitor, the 11th Brother. Maul duels with the Inquisitors while 3 of his Mandalorian mercenaries led by Kebris attempt to flee in the ship. They were shot down by Imperial gunships, and Scorn, a Night Brother who serves Maul, follows Maul and the Inquisitors into a cavern. The 11th Brother kills Scorn to the despair of his brother Icarus. Struggling with his damaged leg, Maul feigns surrender before collapsing the cavern roof, forcing the Inquisitors to retreat. So, let's start with you, Blake. What did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Actually, after watching this and the next one, I felt like they almost reversed the order compared to the other episodes, where like this first one had a lot more action, and then the second one was more trying to put the story together, and I suspect that's because we're going to lead into a big finale on the next 2.
The first 2 episodes were like that as well. The first episode was really action packed, and the second one was more story.
I've been so ingrained in this as we go along. I've entirely forgotten that.
All right. What about you, Darian?
I love this. There's so many shots in this first episode that I want to just get printed, like them standing in front of the laddie with their the Inquisitors have their lightsabers open in the underground. Just looks so amazing. So much details in this, but let's let everybody say something before I just go off.
All right, sweet. What about you, Matt?
Kebris, you slime. That was awesome. Like, then he gets smoked. Like Kebris gets smoked there, and I just love. Man, it's my favorite episode so far. So well done. Composition, like world building, the story, everything was just so good. The choreography.
This one really had it all.
It had everything, even like the camera lenses that they had on there, like the camera like layout on it. It was just sick. And of course, at the end, when Darth Maul says he brings down the whole cave on top of them because they said the Emperor wants them dead. It's like that was awesome. I was like, wow. I was like, wow. I really said wow out loud. Wow, it's amazing. Loved it.
Does anyone have that Owen Wilson sound effect? Wow.
We need it, don't we? Wow.
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 So wow. I really love this one. I mean, both of them were so good, but yeah, I mean, this one had the kind of Maul action that I think all of us really want to see. There's something really appealing about a good fight between 2 really evil baddies. And
the 11th Brother?
Yeah. Like, the 11th Brother shows up. We've got a duel between him and Merrick and Maul, and Maul fighting off 2 Inquisitors is cool. Like it's just cool. You know what I mean? But this was just a really just a solid episode. Like I really liked this one. I think was it this? No, I think it was the next one that I wrote this note down for. But yeah, I know.
Maul's character arc too, like him forced to make a stand, and then was his brother? No, that's the next one.
Yeah.
I felt like watching them like right back together. And these two blended together so much that it's easy to get them mixed up.
Yeah.
Well, in the beginning of the second one, they actually replayed the last like minute and a bit of the previous
with an
one.
additional shot.
Yeah.
With an extra shot.
Yeah, there's an extra shot where Maul looks to the side, and then you see that he sees an escape route. It didn't show that in the first episode.
Right. It made it look like the rocks like dropped on his head, and then the second episode it was like he fled. Yeah.
So dope.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Kind of interesting.
I like that they kept on reminding us that his leg was broken, and that he, it seemed like if it wasn't for his leg, he could actually take these two Inquisitors.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, yeah, I think it like that was really smart of them to do, because it almost leaves the debate open a little bit, where it's just like, hey, like, he wasn't beat, and then he was kind of a stalemate, and then he sort of got away, but maybe could he have beaten them if his leg was like functioning? Because like that was definitely a drawback for him. Like it's very interesting to like see how they try and balance those power levels a little bit. And I think we all know that like peak performance, like Maul could have taken those guys like no problem. I think it would have been a challenge.
The question is, how far off is he from that? Is his leg so detrimental to him that he can't keep up with his former self?
Yeah, I think so, because like it kept on. I mean, they've been slowly building this through the season, but his leg it keeps sort of shorting out and having an issue. Happened with.
It didn't happen in Clone Wars.
No, it didn't. It happened with Devin, like the duel with Devin and Daki, and then it happened.
Daki kicks the
Yeah, and then I think there was an episode. I think it was the next one or something that you see some of the guys trying to fix it, and it's like, man, it's very good storytelling in that sense, because you're kind of, I guess, in the span of watching this show, if you were to binge this show, it works like an extended length film in that sense, where it's like a lot of plot points, like very subtle things that normally in a TV show like this you wouldn't necessarily have, but like on a granular level, they're adding in these little Easter eggs for what could affect things later, right? And I think that's really
foreshadowing.
Yeah, it's just really smart sort of story development, I guess, right? Because clearly they thought about it. It's like, okay, how do we have Maul get beaten by two Inquisitors, but make it look really good, and that he can stand his ground but also get beat, right? Like it's like a puzzle to try and figure out. And then you have to work your way backwards from that. And it's like, well, what if he had an injury? Okay, where did the injury come from? Okay, well, maybe it could be from his mechanical leg. Okay, how did it get it, broken or whatever?
Like
right?
writing a mystery.
Yeah, it's like writing a mystery, right? Like, maybe they're writing it backwards in that sense with some of these things. And I think Sam Witwer also did say at one point, and I think I read this recently in the issue 236 for Star Wars Insider. It was the most recent copy of that magazine that came out in February, I want to say, or March. And he had an interview in there about the upcoming show. And I think he said that the producer on the show really enabled them to go back later and change some things to make the first couple episodes that they did even better, because as they continually sort of made their way through the show, they sort of found their footing a bit better, and that you're a bit more, and then given the opportunity to come back, do some sequence changes or dialogue changes or whatever really needed to be done to get the job done, they did it. And, a lot of us who watch the Clone Wars, it's very apparent, like when you watch season 1, it's like, okay, this season, it gets better towards season 2, and then season 3, it really finds its footing. But, if you take that kind of structure and then, it's like, okay, well, what did we learn from doing season 3 and then apply it to season 1 and 2, on a more, obviously this is a more condensed show, but if they did that, season 1 and 2 could have been elevated to another level of quality that I don't think they really quite hit that the later seasons did.
You just explained the Star Wars special editions.
Did I now? Yeah, those original movies, they didn't quite hit the quality people wanted, but dude, the special editions, those change everything. It's a game changer.
We need more droids booping each other on the head.
Yeah.
There you go.
So good. Okay, yeah. So who has anything else to say about this episode?
It's another good example of they're telling some of the story with the details that don't really matter. Like you get to see Two Boots and he's matte from head to ankle. And then his ankles and feet are super shiny. I love
Like
that.
brand new.
Detail.
Yeah.
I noticed there's a few other things like that. And the imagery, like when Maul jumps off the bridges and stuff, he goes through the waterfalls, and the sabers are steaming and stuff. Well, water's a good metaphor for change, for fluid, and that's what we see going into the next episode. I thought that was interesting because every time they've done change with Maul in the past, they've used fire. This is the first time they've used water.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good point.
I did not notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. What about you, Blake? Anything else you want to point out about this one?
I am really curious. I think what we're going to see Devin go from here, because there's this the split between Maul and Devin, but like they did really spoilers meet up in the next episode. So I'm curious to see how it's gonna because obviously I am of the fan of wanting them to become a sort of master apprentice situation, and so I'm curious how this is gonna kind of tie back together, because I feel like we keep seeing steps in that direction and then they pull apart.
Right.
And I feel like this last one I felt like was a pretty big pull apart moment. So I'm curious what's gonna bring them back together.
Yeah. No, that's a good
I
point.
like that. I like that one line. Your vacillations are wearing thin on me.
Yeah, he's just getting so tired of just dealing with her, just rebutting him kind of at every attempt.
I keep forgetting that she's not Ahsoka. Like it's like they tried to make Darkseid Ahsoka and learned a lot of lessons from the Clone Wars, and they're like, this is what fans want from that character. Let's just kind of like streamline it and show the dark version of where this character could have gone.
I think they're trying to skip the phase of Ahsoka where everyone was really annoyed with her in the first 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
See, I never found her that annoying, because I was like, well, of course they have to start here because she has to build into what we get.
Yeah,
That's true too.
Specifically because she was Anakin's apprentice, though, I feel like it was a pretty high bar.
Yeah, she
It's also like a surprise apprentice out of nowhere.
yeah, and Devin, they're really it's such an interesting story. I mean, she played a part in this episode, of course, trying to get what's his name? Riley, is it?
Riley?
Yeah, Devin. Yeah,
That's
Devin,
the son, yeah.
the son, right? Yeah, yeah. So like, she's trying to get him away from Maul, and and then when the stormtroopers kind of come in attacking and stuff like that, she has this moment of hesitation to run with Riley, and then she really kind of gives in to those desires to just sort of
fight.
Yeah, to cause some havoc on the Empire. She just kind of leans into, hey, well, these guys are killing some stormtroopers. I'm getting in on this. She kind of goes up and
That's a good moment.
starts side by siding with Maul there, and he looks over,
actually,
and he kind of looks over, and then
She's
looks
tired
up.
of hiding.
Yeah,
She
she
wants
is.
to fight.
Exactly. And it kind of plays back to something that Maul told her about that. Because I think he makes a comment about her talents being wasted in this way of if she keeps on running and hiding. And I'm pretty sure that was like a couple episodes ago now that he said something like that. But, that's what he was hinting at. And you can feel that seed that he planted really kind of coming back up into her character. And these are the moments that it really counts, where they're not lies or deception, but it's just like these sort of grains of truth that like these perspectives, right? Like it's like a different way of looking at things. Really affect her in a very profound way, because all she's ever known is the perspective of her master. And here's a really wise, we're kind of getting their wise character, giving her a new way to look at things.
Experienced. Character.
Exactly. An experienced force using character who she in her whole life has probably never been exposed to someone quite like him, because she's only ever been surrounded by the Jedi, who have kind of this dogmatic perspective as a unison, right? And that's what made Anakin such an outlying character, just because he had different ways of looking at things. But
Yep, that's true. And Maul is a very self-made person. After he was cast aside by Sidious, like everything he's ever done in his life, everything he kind of represents is all stuff that he's had to do himself.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that they changed the framing of how they deal with the Master Daki in this episode as well, because like you start to see that he's kind of hiding behind the Jedi code. He's using it to like try and justify fleeing the situation instead of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I think we see that again in the next episode.
Yeah, it's way more apparent in the next episode, and he kind of resigns himself to actually helping the people that he's put in peril.
Yeah. It's a good point.
I didn't think about it like that, but that makes sense. It does feel like an excuse.
Right. I think the last little thing that I'll mention here is when the 11th brother shows up, he comes in a very familiar looking shuttle, one that we were first introduced to in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
I thought that's what that was.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's the same Inquisitor shuttle that they go to Tatooine on. You see the Grand Inquisitor come out, and Reva, and the other two. And it's just neat to see the ship again. It's a very nice little piece of continuity. And another funny thing, now that we can officially say the 11th brother has arrived, both Merrick and the 11th brother are two Inquisitors in which Ahsoka kills. And I thought that was kind of funny to have them both like side by side fighting Maul, because I was just like, oh, you know what, like Maul failed to convert Ahsoka, and here these two Inquisitors are kind of getting the best out of him a little bit, due to the broken leg or however you want to look at things. And one day Ahsoka's gonna kill them both. Not at the same time, but so the 11th brother dies in the Tales of the Jedi animated show that we got about 2 years ago now. And that was that very controversial episode in which we thought contradicted the Ahsoka novel, but in fact it's supposed to be a completely different scene, even though it's very similar. And Merrick, of course, dies in the season 1 of the Ahsoka live action show. So very, spoilers, but. All right. Any last calls?
Yeah, they kill one of the Night Brothers. I was a little shocked that they killed the big guy with the chain gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, actually, Maul loses like 2/3 of his forces. So.
Yeah, and those
it's true.
Those dudes that try and mate off with his ship, man. Like, I mean, that was so
mercenaries,
so typical. Like they, blew them all up, and it's like, well, that felt very. I don't know. I always whenever I see a moment like that, I always think of the scene in Indiana Jones where that dude makes off with the golden idol, and then the next time you see him, he's like suspended on a bunch of spears. Like, right. I always think of that anytime I see a scene that's like this, and I don't know if like that was the first movie or show to do it, or if they got the idea from somewhere else, but
immediately get their comeuppance.
Yeah, it's like someone all of a sudden flips, and all of a sudden now they're a traitor, and then they instantly just get just owned by whatever word you want to use for it, right? Like so it was kind of funny, just a bit of a comedic moment there. All right.
I love that it's like you see Maul almost cry when he dies, and you're like, it was hilarious.
Oh boy. All righty, so let's dive into episode 8 here, shall we?
Let's do it.
Chapter 8, The Creeping Fear. Also April 27th, 2026. Cast leads Maul's remaining followers and Vario to a rendezvous point. Separated from them, Maul continues to struggle with his leg and experiences hallucinations of his past, including his brutal training by the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, who is now the Emperor, and the one who killed Maul's brother Savage Oppress. Maul resolves to stop Sidious from treating anyone else the same way. Two Boots learns that Cleese was actually executed by the Empire and decides to help free Riley, who has been interrogated by the 11th brother. Two Boots and Riley meet Lawson and the Jedi outside the precinct, and they escape from pursuing stormtroopers. They go to meet with Sol, who has a ship, but the Jedi sense that this is a trap, and Lawson confirms this. Sol is being held at gunpoint by Blake and the Inquisitors. The group turn back before they're caught, and Sewell blows up the ship with herself and Blake beside it. Maul reunites with his followers, and they take temporary refuge in Demas's office. Vario receives a message that Dryden Voss of the crime syndicate Crimson Dawn wishes to meet with Maul. All right, so this one was a great second parter, you know, carried on the action with Maul bringing down the ceiling on the Inquisitors and, you know, getting away. And the first thing that I thought of was when I saw that was that, well, I mean, we kick things off with the Sith scream and the spin. I mean,
Yeah.
a move that I'm sure he learned from his master at once upon a time. So that was kind of neat. Let's start with you, Matt. What did you think about this episode?
Well, that's one of the first things I was going to mention too. I thought it was cool to see him Maul do like a spin drill thing, twist thing. That was pretty awesome. And then I thought, you know, we up to this point we saw Devin and some really awesome choreography and her fighting, and so it was kind of funny where he got approached by those three guys, and then they just cut to them on the floor and her leaving when they're in their ship. It was funny. And that chase scene was absolutely amazing. I love the chase scene and the speeder bikes and the Jedi Master throwing those the biker dudes, and then last but not least,
cool.
it was so cool. And then also last but not least, like hearing Darth Sidious' voice and seeing like the flash, kind of like the vision that he was having, like Maul's reflection, also literally his reflection in the water too, like his brother. And it was just such a great choice where we see Maul kind of turn and think about like, let's not let Sidious do it to anybody else, right? Like, and making that choice, like his new why is sick.
Right.
Yeah, those scenes where he's talking to himself in the water really show a shift in his mindset, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it was incredible, and you know, kudos to the actor too. Like he did a great job, and then of course we're ending with
Ben Whitwer.
Yeah, Ben, and then last but not, and then absolutely at the end we hear, you know, Dryden Voss, and I think he's from Solo, right?
Yeah, he's Paul Bettany's character.
He's in a ton of books too.
Is he gonna voice him, you think?
That'd be awesome if he actually like showed up and did the voice for him, but we've seen him show up in a hologram once in Clone Wars season 7, right at the very end. And so like he's I think what they're trying to tell us about the story is that Crimson Dawn was one of the crime syndicates that was aligned with the Shadow Collective, and probably, seeing as he's reaching out to Maul, probably the most loyal of the crime syndicates that was part of that organization. Because, you know, as Maul kind of seeks vengeance on the ones that betrayed him, there's really been no mention of Crimson Dawn in that whole fiasco until now. And, you know, he's reaching out probably to make some sort of deal or maybe just to, I don't know, see that he's okay, seeing as maybe he didn't realize that he was alive or something like that. Who knows? So I have no idea. I guess we'll find out.
Excited to find out.
Yeah. What about you, Darian?
There's so much that's great in this. I love the contrast. He goes from going through all these meaningful changes, looking in the water, remembering that Savage was trying to keep him from going with Palpatine and everything. You get a bunch new lines from Clancy as the character and everything. That was great. And then you go straight from that into the sandstorm. It's such a great contrast of like he has to navigate through the chaos, and there's such strong imagery, and to go from one to the other so quickly was a cool thing. Like, but what I really wanted to point out is it's the first time that Maul talks about how Palpatine is affecting other people. Up till now, he's always been like, this was done to me, I'm the victim. Whereas here he makes a promise. He's like, I won't let him do this to anyone else.
Yeah. It's almost like they're adding another layer to him just seeking revenge. Because I think a lot of the time when people think about Darth Maul these days, it's constantly he's seeking revenge. He's seeking power. He's seeking revenge. You know, there's no up until this point, I don't think there's been a whole lot of correlation with he's trying to get some justice. And whether you consider it vengeance or justice or whatever, it does seem as if they're trying to make it clear that this is coming from a place of pain and not necessarily anger. And there's this deep longing.
I think he takes that pain and then he turns that into anger. You can kind of see that progression.
Yes, for
throughout
sure.
this episode, where he's hurt, he's down, he's like almost to the point of giving up, and then he remembers what he's been through and makes him upset and sad, and then that quickly turns into him screaming in anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like it was, and depicting a young Maul like next to a young Savage on Dathomir, and having those moments like Darth Sidious showing up and taking Maul away. That scene where he like drags him away, and it's a callback to like the tragic upbringing that he would have had. And this was also the first on-screen contradiction that I've experienced with the Darth Plagueis novel, because I think we were only just recently chatting about this, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of on-screen contradiction with that legend story. Mind you, I mean, it's not written to be a canon book because it predates the Disney era, but just in general, I think it's been very easy to perceive that story as possibly having had happened at one point, whether you throw the Acolyte in that mix or not. We can still kind of generally consider the whole thing to be somewhat very accurate, right? As to what could have happened. And then, you look at the scene where Sidious takes away Maul and he's like a young kid, is very different from the scene in which potentially Mother Talzin gives Sidious a baby, right?
An infant.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just going to ask the group of you, like, if you have read Plagueis and kind of know what scene I'm talking about, like, what do you prefer? Like, do you prefer the fact that, maybe like it's more believable that he was a kid when he was taken? Or do you think that the baby thing is like a bit more kind of, evil and twisted in storytelling? Or like, what do you prefer?
I think this makes more sense, because or else he's just going to have this infant that he needs to look after for,
I think
at least probably eight years.
I think he had droids do it. Didn't he? Did he have droids look after the baby?
That would
remember.
I've always kind of bumped up against Palpatine taking care of a kid. Like, it always seemed weird to me, but now that you said the droids part, it's like, okay, yeah, that seems like a Palpatine plan.
I think there was one line in the book that gave me the notion that there were some caretaker droids that were looking after him when Sidious wasn't around training him. Because especially for the first like 3-4 years of his life, that would have been evident that that would have needed to happen, right? Like, he's not old enough to even understand language at that point. So
I mean, it's literally just taking care of a baby or an infant.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know how much training you can do.
There is something
Picturing Palpatine trying to like change diapers and then like shooting lightning in the air with frustration.
There is something also that is yeah. There's something that changes as well about the character when you change the age of which he was inducted as a Sith, and that's he has memories of what life was like before. And whereas if he was taken as a baby or as such an infant that he wouldn't have memories of that, we would only see a twisted maniac, right? Like probably one hell-bent on killing every living thing imaginable with no sense of person about him. Because if you think of the darkest lord ever lived in the galaxy, being Sidious or whatever, him essentially raising a child with a bunch of droid parents and, teaching him the ways of the dark side, training him up to be a Jedi hunter. That's the version of Maul that we see in the Phantom Menace. But if there was any kind of humanity in him at all, after that first big moment in his life where he goes down the tube and probably has to, lean on his training in order to survive the event, I would imagine that if anyone was an insane, raised a certain way from birth, that you have no recollection of what living life normally was like, it probably wouldn't change a thing. You'd probably just be this like animal, right? And kind of like how we see him like with his spider legs on, he's just kind of insane, right? And I don't know. I think like having him taken away as a kid, the age that he was, he's got some foggy, vague memories of a life before. And I think that kind of grounds him just a little bit, just enough that we're able to find a piece of him that we can relate to. And I think it's that part that really keeps that character consistent with the Maul that we know later in Rebels, and the one that, you know, we come to understand has some, you know, I don't know, he's able to find common ground with Ezra, right? Like that's the Maul that they're trying to build towards.
It's a wise choice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when he first goes back to Mother Talzin in Clone Wars. Does he recognize her at all?
I don't think he ever does in the episodes that are finished. It's only Savage Oppress that communicates with Mother Talzin. But
does he not bring her back? I'm pretty sure that Savage brings Maul to Mother Talzin.
Yeah, that's when he's still kind of spider-legged and crazy. So he doesn't really interact with her. But then Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters do all the magic to give him the claw legs with the droid parts, and she kind of dissipates into thin air once that job is done, and then he wakes up. So it's I don't think he interacts with her until the Son of Dathomir comic book series, which adapted 4 episodes that they never finished for the show. And those are the episodes in which she dies, Mother Talzin, that is. And I think he interacts with her in those episodes, but my memory is vague on those ones. So yeah, I got major Attack of the Clones vibes on this one with the speeder chase. Did anyone else get that?
Yeah.
It was great. The speeder chase was awesome. I mean, I absolutely loved the speeder chase. Like,
it was great.
I laughed out loud when I saw that dude just like flung so hard, you know, like
into the laddie.
Yeah, and the one that crashed after that big drop, you know, he just kind of like falls off the edge, like that. Totally.
And the third guy, the third guy that lands.
Yeah, that was like straight out of the Mandalorian with those scout troopers on the bikes that are just like clumsily just rocketing down that hill. And one of them just careens into like a boulder and, you know, flips over and explodes. And the other dudes just kind of like glance back and then keep going. And, you know, it's basically like 1 for 1. I was like, man, I've always found that shot so funny. And it was just great that they put that in again. Like, found a way to sneak that in. That was a great little Easter egg.
What's really cool though is right before that happens, you actually see a moment where Devin and her master are like in sync, like in really like without any communication. They both just know exactly what they're doing or what's going on. When he like hits the brake, I don't know how that works in a hover car, but she hits the brake, the whole thing slides to the side, and they both use the force and like block that one, push that one bike into the other guy, and launch the other one up.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that whole sequence, especially of her getting the speeder. It really shows that she's going more towards the way Maul does things. She didn't have to fight a bunch of people to get a vehicle. She could have taken anything else in that lot, but she chose the fancy hot rod.
Yeah, it's like Anakin. It's a bit like Anakin, you know, like, oh, what took you so long? You know, master, I couldn't find a speeder I really liked. And then he says something about with the like the specs
speed
on
capabilities,
the speed capabilities,
open cockpit.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. Speed capabilities, no open cockpit. Yeah. So yeah, it was cool. Like she's like, this one's great. Like this'll do just fine. And then, you know, you get that moment where like the gang pops out of the car. It's like, what are you doing, kid? Sniffing around our ship. Yeah,
I actually cheered in the scene where she's like, when they're talking about being less conspicuous would have helped. And she's like, yeah, but we wouldn't be able to do this, and cranks it. I actually...
Yeah.
That's true.
It's the NOS.
Yeah, hits the NOS. Yeah, so good. So good. A little Easter egg I found online, which I thought was really interesting, is 22 years ago, when Revenge of the Sith hit theaters. The Creeping Fear, the name of this episode, was actually one of the rumored titles for episode 3 at the time. And you can find articles online going back to 2004, because the internet remembers everything. So and I clicked on one just to make sure that I was reading this correctly, because I found on a different site, I think it was Screen Rant that figured this out, or maybe they figured it out from somebody else. But I went to verify this information, and I did find a website that was last linked and published on it was like, I don't know, November 2004 or sometime in that year. And The Creeping Fear was in fact one of the rumored titles that they were kind of buzzing about. And so that was really cool. I thought that it was a nice, you know, in classic Lucasfilm fashion, you know, recycling an unused idea somewhere.
Nice. Is that why the next episode's called Blue Harvest?
I mean, I'm waiting for the day. Yeah, but that was a cool one.
I believed you for a second.
And take everything I say with a grain.
Don't believe anything he says, anybody.
I gotta say, Lawson is the best shot in all of Star Wars. Why I rewatched that episode where they're escaping from the police station. He doesn't miss a single shot that isn't immediately off screen.
Oh yeah, he's great. Like, yeah, that dude
he's
hits the
really cool.
yeah, he hits the you know, the
mark.
Yeah, the yeah, or the yeah, the mark, like every single time, like he takes a shot. Yeah. It's pretty good. Like, I mean,
time at the range.
yeah, I think he's kind of, I think it kind of goes with the, I don't know, like the dutiful cop. He's also he's just good at his job. You know what I mean? Like the good cop is always a good cop at his job. Like he's always doing a good job. So like, yeah.
I think with him,
Hard-boiled.
Yeah.
with him and this crime genre, like really fits like Matt's like roots from all his episodes he wrote on 24.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Would you be down for a spin-off with that character? Like he's just a detective solving mysteries and Janix.
He's the kind of character that I would absolutely love to see in a crossover with a show like Andor or something, you know, something a bit more
That'd be
cool.
grounded.
Yeah,
Like,
that worked really well.
yeah, like I can see that character
Yeah.
fitting into a show like that incredibly easily. So I guess if we get another show that really allows an opportunity for that character to show up, like in a way that doesn't feel like awkward or forced, I could totally, I would appreciate that. I would also love to see Janix like live action, because this is a very interesting planet. You know, the whole show has taken place on this planet. We haven't seen a single other planet at all, other than wherever the Pikes are, and Obadiah. That's the planet name. I think that's the only other planet that we've seen, and it's been very brief.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really appreciate that. I feel like when you jump around too much, it kind of loses the scale a bit.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we've only seen the one city on this planet too. We haven't seen the jungle. We haven't seen any of the other towns or anything.
Right. Yeah, and like other than the area that Maul was seen kind of fighting in, there was a bit of natural rock features and cliffs and waterfalls and stuff. And this was, you know, very deep down in the levels, probably closer to the foundation of where the city's built on and stuff. And I thought that was a really cool, unique environment that didn't feel awkward at all. You know, like seeing it in what's I wouldn't call it quite Coruscant, but it's definitely, you know, a pretty dense city, and, you know, seeing trees and stuff like that, or water, and I don't know, like, and a cave, you know, I was just like, oh, that's like, it's cool. It's just neat. Like we're on the outskirts of the city, or just like really far below it or something. Like, I don't know. It's just neat. I didn't even question that until like just now. I thought about that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, the waterfall.
Yeah.
Oh, and no creatures were down there either.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. They did a really good job selling everything in this storyline, which is pretty good.
And this is probably the best written female characters in any show since The Mandalorian. Like,
for sure.
Soul,
Yeah.
who single-handedly takes out an entire squad of TKs, and Lieutenant Blake, and the ship and everything. Like, she's in her casino, she takes out a few other ones in there and whatnot. Like, she's a legitimate threat, and you believe she's a legitimate threat. Same with like Rook Cast and whatnot. Like, she's a pretty well-rounded character. I'm hoping we get a lot more of her. It's nice to see characters that have flaws and are amazing at what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was.
It'd be cool to see Lady Cass. Lady Cass is a live-action character too.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be really awesome. I agree. I mean, like, we didn't really even talk about how Soul just kind of ends her life there, but like that was that was a crazy scene. Like, I didn't expect them to do that at all. Like, I don't expect that. The way that was shot, I don't expect her to come back. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's intended that she died, but it was it was a shocker moment. I was like, oh, wow, like that blew me away in terms of, I feel like we were just getting to know this like new, interesting kind of like character connected to Lawson in some way. You know, maybe they'll end up together. Who knows? And then just like that, she was gone. I was like, that's some good quality storytelling right there.
Yeah, they kept saying that they had this tight connection where they both saved each other's lives and everything, but like I can't think of a way to demonstrate it more. That hey, I'm gonna end my life so that you can be free with your kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right. That's good. Pretty cool.
But hey, you never know. Maybe we'll see her and she'll just be a brain in a suit.
I think, you know, if I see her back, I think my rating for this episode is gonna take a hit. But I mean, you know, that moment really like upsold it for me. Like I was like, okay, yeah, this is good. I mean,
That was great.
yeah. All right, last calls for this episode, and then we'll do Pablo Points and Poodoos.
I can't remember actually if it was this episode or the last one, because it was kind of right at like while Two Boots is escorting the kid out, Riley out. Did you guys notice the mouse droid that was leading them, but it was like flat and chonky? It's like an alternate version of a mouse droid.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It was almost like a. Was it? Did it look? Hold on a second. Let me just try and find this.
I did notice a mouse droid. I didn't notice it was different though.
Yeah, it wasn't an Imperial one. It was different.
And this
Which
was
is interesting because even I think the Clone Wars and stuff, they always use the same one.
At what point was this?
I can't remember if it was the end of the last episode or the very beginning of this one.
I think it's about a quarter way through.
A quarter way through the episode 8?
Yeah, because it's right before Two Boots takes.
It's while he's escorting the kid out. Yeah, so that means that's the second episode.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's about a quarter way through.
Got it. Okay. Let me just take.
I think it's like right before they meet Lawson in the parking lot.
Oh, got
Exactly. Yeah.
it. Okay. I'm just looking at it now.
Two Boots taking out those TKs, all 4 of them. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
At the stun.
Just to kill some time, I've noticed a couple of things on social media where people are taking the hunter killer droids, the ones from Ahsoka, they're repainting them and adding a different face mask, and it's pretty close to Two Boots.
Oh.
Like there's a lot of parts that are the same. It's just like they added more armor plating, and it's just an HK droid.
Neat. I didn't know that.
Oh, I found it. Okay, so it's like a very thin, sleek, horizontal kind of design.
Like flat.
Yeah, it almost looks like somebody stepped on a mouse droid a little bit. That's
Or if it's like a Roomba or some sort of lawnmower robot.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Like I like that there's multiple designs, almost like maybe how the Imperial mouse droid was like inspired by, you know, like a different design somewhere. I think the Republic had regular mouse droids as well, but anyway, that's
pretty sure they had the same one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing to point out.
So I thought I'd bring it up because I just never seen a different version of a mouse droid before. It's just always the same one.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Alrighty, let's get into some Pablo Points and Poodoos. All right. Blake, would you like to explain what Pablo Points and Poodoos is?
Can do. So on this podcast, we use a special rating system called Pablo Points and Poodoos, and it is a score of 7. So you start at the very bottom, would be 3 Pablo Poodoos, and you work your way up 3, 2, 1 to 0, and that would be a Bendu. Then you go into Pablo Points 1, 2, 3, and 3 Pablo Points is the best of the best of the best.
Very nice. Well done. All right. So what would you give these 2 episodes?
So the first one I think is a solid 2.5, and the second one is, I feel like this one leads more story. I want to say 2.5 as well, but I feel like I enjoyed the first one just a little bit more, so I'll give it 2.
Okay. I gave both of these 2.5.
Yeah.
Matt, what about you, man?
I was giving 7 a 3 and 8 a 2.5.
All right. Got Matt's first 3 on the board.
Yeah.
All right, Darian, what about you, man?
I'm going to give both of them 2.5. I, like Blake, felt that the 8 was not quite a 2.5, so I figure between the two of us it balances out.
Okay.
That's fair. I appreciate that because like I feel like it's better than the 2, but I just because I like the other one a little bit better, I want to make some sort of difference.
I know. I run into that a lot too, where it's like, oh, I really need that quarter point.
That quarter point would go a long way.
You know, maybe we could add one Bendu and one Pudu to the spectrum.
Yeah. Well, we're still waiting on reviews from Dan to come in about this one. At some point, of course, we'll get Kirk to catch up with his scores. And, that might change the team average. But for now, we're sitting at team average of Pablo points from episode 1 all the way through episode 6. And episodes 7 and 8 are at 2.5. So we're looking pretty good for this show. I mean, this is rivaling Andor Season 2 for how many Pablo points that we're giving out here, which is amazing. So can't wait for the finale, which will be next week. And then, we'll have a lot more to talk about, I guess, with the final 2 episodes. But
Grand finale, yeah. I'm curious what the Rotten Tomato score is at now, but I feel like we should hold off until the next episode to get all 8 reviews in there.
Yeah, I agree.
And for the listeners, the episodes would actually already be out by the time they hear this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, yeah.
That is a good point. All right. Well,
tell us what you thought of the episodes.
So, like all of them?
No, our listeners should write on one of our videos or.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely. A message to our listeners, tell us what you thought of them, because we would love to hear from you, and we would love to know what the general thoughts are out there, with how this show stacks up, against other Star Wars shows. So thank you, Darian, for the reminder on that. I think that is pretty much all we have for this evening, and we're gonna save another chapter of Anakin's diary for another day. But is there any last minute things that anyone would like to bring up before this party is over?
I'm disappointed there's no Anakin.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, we have a little message from Anakin that'll play right now.
This is Anakin Skywalker calling in, and you're tuning into the best podcast in the galaxy, Star Wars Escape Pod.
Thanks, Anakin.
This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're listening to Star Wars Escape Pod. Don't forget to leave a review that would make even Master Yoda proud.
All right.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. One last thing that we're going to do is tease our May 4th episode, because even though we haven't recorded that one just yet, everyone listening to this episode at home might have that on the queue. Or, it's, May 4th is a Monday. Okay. So we're going to drop this episode early so that you can look forward to an episode on Monday, which will be May 4th. So there you go. So stay tuned.
There we go.
Stay tuned for a May 4th episode, and enjoy the early release of this episode. So yes, I'll say enjoy the weekend. To all of you guys, thank you so much for popping on as usual and chatting some Star Wars with me. We will catch you in the next one.
This is the way.
We'll see you out there. Keep flying.
All right. Thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in. We really appreciate all of you. 5 stars really helps us out a lot. So feel free, if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it goes a long way, helps the search algorithms. You can also subscribe on YouTube with the handle at SW Escape Podcast in the search. You know the logo to look for, and we love doing this. So drop a comment, let us know what you appreciate about Star Wars Escape Pod and what you're looking forward to. All right. May the Force be with you.